What's up, fans? Welcome to a new episode of M2M Coverage, part of the larger M2M network. I'm your host, Suraj Zaveri. I'm coming to you from Providence, Rhode Island. We have Gabe Pickup, NBA analyst. He's coming to you from New York, and Edward Gion, another NBA analyst, coming to you from Berkeley. Now, me and Gabe Gabe is very close to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn was the news of the day because the Brooklyn Nets acquired James Harden in a blockbuster trade. This trade was so confusing. It took me a couple minutes of reading. Like, I had to think about this trade. I had to read every single team, what they received. It took a lot of processing power. So let me just read it out for you guys in an organized fashion. The Rockets trade James Harden to the Nets. The Cavaliers receive Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince. The Nets receive, obviously, James Harden and a second-round pick. The Pacers receive Karis LeVert and a second-round pick. And lastly, the Rockets receive Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, Victor Oladipo, superstar from Indiana, 4 first-round picks, all unprotected, and 4 first-round pick swaps, all unprotected, as well as the Nets picks in 2022, 2024, and 2026, the Cavaliers pick in 2022 via the Bucks, and pick swaps with the Nets in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. Whew. That was a lot of stuff to read. I don't know what to make of it all. It happened so fast. My friend who's a Philadelphia 76ers fan was sending me all these trade rumors that they might get James Harden. Gabe, I'm just going to start with you. And, there's a lot of sides to this trade. Harden is an MVP caliber player, obviously. But in the end, if you are a Brooklyn Nets fan, if you're the Brooklyn Nets GM, is the trade worth it?
It would be totally worth it if there was about half of the value the Nets gave up in that trade. James Harden is a phenomenal player, and I'm not going to discredit anything he has done individually. And even as a teammate at times, he has shown that he can be a leader and lead a team deep into the playoffs. It's just he has never gotten over that step. And the one time he was in the finals, he just didn't have it. And I know that's not really fair to compare that to now, but it just shows that, a player like that, like with that many assets you give up for it, you'd have to have it for like a superstar finals MVP type, like a KD, a LeBron, a Kawhi. It just doesn't seem like Harden's worth all that. He's worth a ton of assets, but the fact that they gave up 8 first-round picks, basically, in terms of 4 of them being the best and or 3 of them being the best, it just doesn't make sense to me now. If it was anything else, trading for James Harden would 100% be worth it. But all of those first-round picks and 2 very talented young players, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it seems to me after just like reading the trade, all of that stuff that the Nets are giving away, it seems like the Nets are saying, screw the future. We're trying to win a chip this year or next year, as long as Harden, KD, and we don't even know about Kyrie, by the way. But Edward, I want to get your take on it. Do you think the trade was worth it for the Brooklyn Nets?
Um, I think so. The reason why I think the trade is worth it, it's what you said about Kyrie. So right now, here's the thing about Kyrie. We all hear the news about him. He wasn't in the game because he had personal reasons, and we found out that he was partying with his family. And today, I watched First Take, and Stephen A. Smith said a very interesting take that he should retire. Now, I don't think that Kyrie should retire, but I think one point that he brought up that brought to my eyes more is that Kyrie Irving, like his role model is Kobe Bryant. And if Kobe Bryant was still alive today, and he saw that his, I guess, mentee or his student doing that, I think Kobe Bryant will be very disappointed. And yeah, I think this is a big loss for Kyrie because one, he's not treating the game as he should be. He should. And 2, now he see this trade, he's like, oh man, would that motivate him back to playing basketball? I hope so. I really hope so. Because he pretty much brought down all the Nets organization from coaching, his players, like just because he went out to party with his family. Like, let's just hope that he's doing all right. But to the basketball side, it was obvious that James Harden wanted to leave the Rockets because they're not a win now mode. And I'm kind of disappointed because I think the Rockets were one of that dark horse. Like, they have good players like John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood. Like, they have all the pieces. And, Harden, you're that go-to guy. You got to carry. You can do it. But him complaining and especially when DeMarcus Cousins during his interview exposes more, that brings up, is James Harden worth it? And I think yes, because I don't think Brooklyn Nets brought Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant just to build on the future. So I think it's a win now. And especially if you want to beat the Lakers, I think this is the best possibility. So I think it's worth it.
That was very well put, and I'm glad you brought up a lot of the points about the Rockets, right? Because DeMarcus Cousins said that was disrespectful, what James Harden was doing. And actually, I think the Rockets are low-key still a good team. Victor Oladipo is no scrub whatsoever. And, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, they're just going to play extra motivated now that they finally got James Harden, who was holding their team back. They finally got him out of Houston. But that brings up another question. We talked also a little bit about Kyrie. We touched on the Nets. What were the Nets actually doing here, right? Are they getting James Harden for insurance purposes on Kyrie because Kyrie's a wild card? Or are they getting him as an addition to the team? It seems a little bit of funny how all this chemistry is going to work out on this team. You got three superstars. It's kind of like OKC vibes back in the day with there was Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. But I'm just confused at how the ball is going to move around, how much ISO they're going to play. People are calling them contenders. I'm just curious to see what you guys think about what the Nets were thinking when they made this move. Gabe, was it insurance or was it finals right now?
It was definitely a move to elevate them to the finals. However, it definitely had some sort of protection vibe to it because of everything that's been going on with Kyrie Irving. Steve Nash has had a lot of obstacles to overcome just in the first 10 games. With Dinwiddie going out, with Kyrie, I don't really want to say being a diva because there's some important reasons why he is out. But just with everything going on, I think that Harden was an insurance move to protect the fact that Kyrie might leave. However, if all three are playing, I don't know if they can go to the finals even. Just because Kyrie and KD were the perfect duo to play together. When they did play together, I think they're 3-0 or 3-1. We haven't really gotten to see that. Because of the way they played off of each other, it was really like a dream duo. Just they weren't selfish, and when they were clamped up, they would pass to each other. They would drain some contested shots. But ultimately, James Harden was brought in to help win the title. Time will only tell if he can do that. I just don't think the way the roster is set up, giving up Jarrett Allen, a huge piece for them, Karis LeVert, a nice, reliable third man, I don't know. I don't think that they can win it, and I think that they're kind of screwed if they don't this year.
Yeah, and I didn't see reasoning. If I was Brooklyn, I would have just wanted to keep that core. LeVert and Allen, I liked both of those players. I thought they were ascending in the right direction. And LeVert was actually carrying the team while KD and Kyrie were out. He carried them to the playoffs in the bubble, and he played very well. So you're losing some of these underrated players and you're getting the superstar. Now there's pressure all over the Nets players right now. Now there's pressure on KD, there's pressure on Harden, there's pressure on Kyrie to perform. Edward, I want to get your take. Was this an insurance policy or is it just more pressure? They got to get to the finals. They got to win the finals now that they're stacked all around.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely final. They're looking for that final spot. Because what I said is Kevin Durant and Kyrie, they're not there just to rebuild. It's for the future because they're getting up there in age. but James Harden too. I mean, if you're a GM or a fan of Brooklyn, like if you see that, oh, James Harden is wants to go out, and you have probably the best package. Now, I want to say this: there's two teams that could have gotten Harden. It's Philadelphia and the Boston Celtics. Now, I think Philly and Boston didn't take it, which I'm glad they didn't because their core are playing well. Boston, like Jaylen Brown, is becoming that. Oh man, this guy could be that 1B when like Jason Tatum could be that 1A, and then you have Kemba Walker and Philly. Now people say, oh, we could have traded Ben Simmons and it's going to be good with Joel Embiid. That's an unstoppable pick and roll. But I think what we saw from Joel Embiid last night or a couple nights ago when he scored 45 points, like that kind of shows you, oh man, like if we integrate more and hopefully that he doesn't get hurt, this Philadelphia team looks dangerous too, especially right now. Like they're, I think, the top of the East and they haven't lost that many games. So I think that's why I think they didn't pull it off. Now the Nets, they've been on a bad. They're really good at the first two games, like they've been destroying teams. They were like, wow, like this is going to be a dangerous team. And then of course, like Spencer Dinwiddie, I think that's a huge loss. Like I wouldn't react like this if Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't injured. If he wasn't injured, I'd be like, oh man, this team is so good. Like you don't have to worry about your bench because Caris LeVert goes, and then you got Spencer Dinwiddie. But Spencer Dinwiddie is not just out for like a couple months, but he's out for the whole season. So I think this definitely changed a lot of stuff. Like Joe Harris going to have to step up from his role. So I think it's a finals, like it's win or go home, finals or home.
Yeah, great points. I'm glad you brought up the 76ers and the Celtics as other potential landing spots for Harden. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel M2M Coverage for more sports content.